responsible for committing physical and/or sexual violence against an intimate partner within the last year. That's according to the Center on Gender Equity and Health. What help is there for them and to keep the Golden State from raising up new generations of abusers? Miranda Stiers with California Partnership to End Domestic Violence with me now to discuss more about the dollars needed to protect victims statewide and focus on prevention. Dollars she says the governor has forgotten as he presented his revised state budget plan on May 13th. Good morning to you.
Good morning. And my pronouns are they, them, but absolutely. I am happy to be here today and to talk about the prevention need.
From the January budget proposal to the May revised, groups across all topic areas kind of lobby state lawmakers and the governor for their budget priorities. Were there any meetings with the partnership or other domestic violence groups that you're aware of, Miranda, with the governor's office over the last few months, or did the discussions just fall on deaf ears? What do you think happened here?
We've had a number of conversations, and our policy team, as well as domestic violence advocates across the state and sexual assault advocates across the state, have had a number of meetings with their local legislators and with the governor. Last month, we had also held our virtual annual policy advocacy day, where we bring together over 100 advocates from across the state to talk with legislators in their areas and to lift up why this funding is so critical and what the importance of prevention is. We're really trying to get into changing hearts and minds, and also changing those social norms that can lead to violence.
Now, funding for initiatives that promote healthy relationships and work to reverse dangerous but maybe once accepted social norms about dating or marital behavior, those funds dipped in 2020, and that led to layoffs of some of the folks on the front lines when someone's being abused and needs help. The advocate who might have taught a young person how to cope with their anger before they perhaps choose to hit an intimate partner. And then we all headed into the quarantine when people were stuck in their homes, perhaps with the partners who may have been abusive. It was a really dark time in this respect, and we don't want to go back there.
Absolutely not. And at that time, we had a number of programs, I think 32, who had started doing prevention across the state. And they very quickly had to adapt, because we had gone from their planning to do in person to doing virtual, and they were still able to do really phenomenal work all across the state, reaching out to youth as well as adults, and doing some really intensive work all across the state of really thinking about what healthy relationships should be, how to manage your anger, healthy boundaries, what is consent, and really having in-depth conversations around those. And it's so critical to be able to continue that, because it does take time to build those relationships. And with some of those groups that they were working with were really marginalized in terms of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and community, and working with those youth to understand what prevention can be, what are healthy relationships, and increasing their access to services. So
some estimates place just the financial cost of sexual violence in California at $140 million, that much aside from the emotional toll that all of this takes. The Partnership to End Domestic Violence points to programs like Coaching Boys into Men as an example of why ongoing funding is so important. That program shows young male athletes what respectful relationships should look like. Those aren't lessons that anyone wants stopped, but if funding dries up, which could happen over the next 2 years, that's something that maybe could stop.
Yes, absolutely. We did see a drastic level of layoffs after the funding had ended for that one-time funding. We have a number of programs that have started from our very successful budget ask last year of $15 million. And there's 46 new programs who are benefiting from that, and they are situated all across the state, poised to work with youth of all ages with increasing their Coaching Boys into Men, where we prevention advocates go out and actually train coaches to then be able to have those conversations. And then we get that ripple effect, because we know that it's not just one person, it really has to be a societal approach. So we're working with the coaches to then educate the young men, who are then going to go out and talk with their peers. And there's a group alongside Athletes as Leaders, which empowers high school female student athletes to take an active role in promoting healthy relationships and ending sexual violence. So we want to make sure that continues, as well as being able to increase the growth across the state of prevention advocates who are able to do this work. It does take time to plant those seeds and to really see those conversations continue and to build those leaders in the community. And one-time funding makes that very challenging. 1 year or 2 years can sound like a lot of time, but you're looking at least 6 months to really get that program up and running and building those relationships with the community.
Alrighty.
So that ongoing funding would be critical.
And just quickly, we're almost out of time. We have a little bit of time left before the governor finalizes his budget. What can be done, if anything? Do you have some hope?
Absolutely. We always have hope. I would encourage folks to reach out to your legislators and support the budget ask of $15 million for ongoing prevention funding. And I really want to stress ongoing, because if it's one time, it does create a challenge for programs to be able to sustain those programs and sustaining their staff to then be able to go out and work in their communities.
Well, we really appreciate you coming in to share what you're still working on to try to get this money into the budget going forward. We'll, of course, be following what happens with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.